Hi everybody, welcome to the Google Digital Garage. Just before we get started, just to make sure you can all see and hear the webinar correctly, if you're having any problems with your picture or your sound, the best thing that you can do is just refresh the page. That usually fixes most of our problems. If you're still having issues, then go down to the bottom right hand corner of the YouTube video and there is a little cog there. If you click that, you'll be able to get your YouTube settings, and your YouTube settings will be able to, you can adjust them so that it runs a little bit smoother. So welcome to the Google Digital Garage. Welcome to Writing for Social Media. My name is Zoe. I'm the Digital Garage trainer who's going to be taking you through the session today. Well, let me introduce myself, I suppose, first. So I'm one of the many trainers for the Google Digital Garage, which is Google's free skills training program. I have been working in marketing and digital marketing for the last 9 years, almost exactly 9 years, in fact. I'm excited to bring some of that expertise to you today. My specialty is writing. It's always been writing, from blogs and white papers and things like that, all the way through to social media posts, which is what, of course, we're here to talk about today. And I'm really excited to share some of that expertise with you and talk to you guys about this amazing topic. I'm not alone, of course. Some of you might have already noticed this, but we have a wonderful moderator with us today, and that is Emma. Emma is in the chat. She is chatting to you guys and will be throughout the session. Her job today is to be there in that live chat, giving you advice, answering your questions, sharing links, and asking questions to you at some points potentially in the session as well. Now, we do have a really open question policy here. We've got some breaks for questions. We've got 3 breaks coming up where I can answer any questions that you might have about this topic. But also, even if you you've got a question but you don't want to wait for the break, just ask it in the live chat, because that's what Emma is there for. She's going to be helping you out and answering those questions, and she can always pass them over to me if she thinks that it's going to take her a long time to answer in enough detail, when I could just quickly do that for you during one of the breaks. So please do feel free to ask questions. We do love getting them, and it helps make these sessions so much more tailored to your needs. Some of you would probably already know this, but we are running this session in partnership with Wenta today. So big thank you to Wenta for partnering with us. We're excited to be delivering it in that kind of partnership. Wenta is a not-for-profit social enterprise that's been supporting small businesses for over 37 years, providing free business advice, free skills training, webinars and workshops, and affordable workspace in locations across Hertfordshire and Enfield. We're running the webinar in partnership with them today, and we're always happy to work with them. Wenta and the Digital Garage together aim to help small business owners improve their digital presence and grow their businesses online. And that's what, of course, what we're here today to do. So I'm sure Emma has popped a link to Wenta's website in the chat. Speaking of links to be put into the chat, before we get on with the session, it's important to remember that we are running this as part of quite a broad offering of different webinars. So if you'd like to learn more about this or other topics, and we've got loads of other topics that we run webinars on, just head straight to the Google Digital Garage website. There is a link in the video description, and I believe I've spotted that Emma has already shared that link in the chat as well. So head there if you would like to learn more about many different topics to do with online marketing and growing your business. So today we have got 3 main objectives and 3 parts to this webinar. So we've got number 1, we're going to look at how to define your brand on social media. What is your brand? What is a brand, full stop? And what's the building blocks for shaping your tone of voice? How are you going to talk to people online and on social media? Number 2, we're going to look at actually covering the principles for writing for social media. Writing for social media is a skill. Writing full stop is a skill. But like any skill, it's something that you can get better at the more you practice. There is no limit to what you can do in terms of skills. You might be thinking, oh, I'm just rubbish at writing for social media. Maybe you're not that great now, but the more you practice it, the better you will get. It's absolutely something that anybody can become a master of with enough practice. And then in the final part of the session, we're going to look at some tips, some tricks, and some tools that are going to help out, really make your content online just that little bit more engaging, that little bit better, to make your marketing as effective as possible. So just one more thing before we start. We do currently offer free one-to-one mentoring from Google, and that is a full hour with a Google Digital Garage trainer, just like myself or Emma. It might in fact be myself or Emma, because I think we both work with the mentoring. Anyone who works for a small business or a charity based in the UK can sign up for this. You get an hour-long session with a Digital Garage mentor where we can talk through anything you're having trouble with your business or your marketing or both. And we can do our best to help you out, whether that's analytics or choosing an audience or running social media, anything at all like that, we can help you out with. So the link is there on the screen, g.co/UK mentoring, and Emma has also shared it in the chat. So take a look at that if you get a chance. It's a really, really good system, program even, and I'm sure it'll be able to help you out massively. So step one then, let's look at defining your brand on social media. First question for you all, what is a brand tone of voice? So if you could share your answers with me in the chat, that would be amazing. There is obviously a small delay between me speaking and you hearing me, and then obviously there'll be a little delay between you hearing me and you being able to type out your answer in the chat. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to get some before I move on to the next slide. If I do move on to the next slide, please continue sharing your answers with me. I just don't want to be sat here waiting while I could be teaching you guys some stuff. So do share your answers in the chat. What do you think a brand tone of voice is? It's not an easy question, and I'm keen to know what people think. There is no right or wrong answer here. I'm certainly not going to be grading and telling you that you've passed or failed. It is quite an open question. I can see we've got one answer. It's the tone of communication that one chooses to use in posts. That's from Azra Kadrich. Do let me know if I'm mispronouncing anyone's names, by the way. Azra's also given us some examples there: friendly, bold, or confident. Educate worldwide, how you say something. Francesca Holly, music and tutorials. Francesca said, for the brand tone of voice is the personality of the brand, the word choice, how you speak to your audience. And again, we've got some examples there of formal or casual. And Amy has said the way that you speak and how you say something. Yeah, I really like all these answers. They are really, really good. Lisa's, again, another answer: how you try and manage the perception you give others about what you are about, message, manner, style, etc. I think there's something in every single one of these answers that we can take away here. They are absolutely fantastic. I think certainly, so starting at the top, tone of communication that you choose to use. Yeah, that's a good definition of a brand tone of voice. And it is, just like Educate say, it's how you say something. I really like what you said, Francesca. The brand tone of voice is the personality of the brand, the word choice and how you speak to your audience. Yeah. And it is also, like what Lisa said, it's how you try to manage the perception that you give to others, how you try to tell other people, this is who I am. We could describe it as well as the way that your brand would speak if it was a person. Even if you're a one-person business, your brand will still speak like a brand, really. What we're looking to do is try and personalize that and turn it so that it's like, if your brand was a human being, how would it talk? What would it say? How would it communicate? That's really what we're aiming to do here. Because it is, you're talking, of course, to potential customers, potential clients, potential suppliers. So it is important to use the right language to really spread your message. So great answers there, fantastic. As I said, we've put the personality of your brand or business, which is what Francesca said as well. Brand tone of voice is the personality of the brand. But of course, everything that you guys have said is still correct in the same way, because yeah, it is about how you communicate. It's about how you manage perceptions. It's about the tone of voice that you're going to use. So the tone of voice then it reflects your brand's personality. So in order to work out how we are going to write on social media, we need to know what our brand actually is. What is our personality? And then we can use that to work out what kind of language to use and how to communicate. So here is one activity that you can do. And I'd be interested to hear some examples again from the chat. If your business or brand was a celebrity, who would it be and why? And that's worth thinking about. Even if you don't want to share your answer in the chat, it's still worth thinking about, because if your business or brand was a celebrity, you can think about how that celebrity communicates and explain sort of how that applies to your brand. So we've got some examples here. James Corden, personable, humble, and funny is are 3 adjectives you could use to describe James Corden. I don't know if anyone's been paying attention to celebrity news recently, but there are plenty of other adjectives, it turns out, that you could also use for James Corden, but we shan't go into that right now. George Clooney then, sophisticated, laid back, smooth. He's charming. He is also funny, but not in the same way that you would say James Corden is funny. So there's nuance to this, and that's why it's useful to see things in this respect. You can easily say, well, my brand is funny. Well, okay, well, is it James Corden funny, or is it George Clooney funny, or is it a different kind of funny? That's why having a celebrity actually is a good idea. It really matches up with who your brand is. Then we've got Beyonce, strong, empowered, alluring. We might say that both George Clooney and Beyonce are sexy. Hopefully that's not too risque for a Friday afternoon. But we might. Their personalities, their sort of brand is sexy, but again, in different ways. George Clooney is suave and sophisticated and smooth, and other words beginning with S. Whereas Beyonce, it's more about that empowerment, that sort of fierceness. Again, the same adjective, but it means very different things for different people. If my business or brand was a celebrity, I think I would probably want it to be a bit of a niche one. The Bollywood actor Amir Khan, who is an actor in a bunch of films. If anyone's got Netflix, he's in a film called Dangal, which is amazing. But as a celebrity, he is funny, but also quite serious. He puts himself out there for a lot of serious causes. He's a Muslim in an Indian majority country in India, and there's a lot of religious conflict, and he's tried to use his celebrity to resolve that conflict wherever possible. I think that's a good thing to look at. He's responsible but still funny. He's charming, but he's still serious. I think that's a good balance to strike. And so I think that would be mine. I can see Shanice has said Oprah. Oprah is a great choice. Quite a lot of people in these sessions have said Oprah Winfrey as the business or brand they would be. Because there's a lot you can get from Oprah Winfrey. She is inspiring. She's open. She's friendly. There's even within that, the same celebrity, you can take different things from it, which is another reason this exercise is so interesting and so useful. But thank you, Shanice. That's a really great answer. In fact, you've just answered brilliantly with yours. She's motivational, inspirational, and compassionate. Brilliant. So you've not used any of the terms that I've used for Oprah Winfrey, which is even better, because you can see you can take completely different things from a celebrity, but it does help you narrow down what is your business? What's its personality? I think this is a fantastic exercise. I really recommend everybody does do this. Even if you don't want to do it right now, have a think about it. Have a think about who your celebrity might be. So 4 steps then that you can take to really develop that tone of voice, especially once you have a good idea of who your brand, what your brand personality is. Those 4 steps are brand values, user pen portrait, how you speak, and the words that you use. And we'll go through each one of those in turn. So first, brand values. What do you stand for? This can be as formal or as silly as you like. So when I think about my business would stand for absolutely would stand for things like customer service. That's really important to me. It stands for being customizable. I always want to, provide my clients with exactly what they want, and I'm being flexible so I can help them achieve their goals. I'd also think social responsibility is a big thing for our business. We want to be able to give back. We want to be able to support causes that we believe in. So those would be our brand values. Maybe your brand values is good atmosphere. Or if you were, a journalist, maybe your brand value would be unbiased reporting. If you have a restaurant, maybe your brand values are the best possible food. So it will change per business, but everyone, it's a good thing to define what exactly do you stand for? Why are you in business? What do you hope to provide people? We've got two examples here. So these are two little fictional businesses that we've come up with. Nico's Pizzeria and Hathaway Legal. Here are their brand values. It's a good examples for you. So Nico's Pizzeria, we've got making quality pizza with fresh ingredients, providing excellent customer service, and having fast and reliable home delivery or takeaway. You might look at that and think, well, every pizzeria surely has the same values. But think about what Nico's Pizzeria hasn't included. There's nothing about budget or cheapness. And you might think we might end up paying a little bit more for these pizzas because they're quality and fresh ingredients. We've not got anything at the minute about authenticity. That doesn't mean that you can't be authentic. It doesn't mean you can't be cheap. But they're not the main things that Nico is concerned about. He wants good customer service, fast and reliable delivery, and he wants his pizzas to be high quality. Hathaway Legal, obviously completely different brand, completely different business. They want to dedicate the highest level of diligence to each case. They want to respond to their clients quickly, and they only want to hire top lawyers who've trained at prestigious institutions. So although both of these brands are still, they want to be the best in their sector, their actual values are very different. So then we get to the user pen portrait, and this is how would you describe a core member of your audience? This is one of the most useful steps to your business, and the more detail you can go into, the better it's going to be. So you might think, well, my target audience is married women. Okay, well, that's quite a big, broad audience, isn't it? Married women, well, you can get married when you're 18. So a married woman could be anywhere from 18 all the way through to 99. What age range are we going for? What job does your married woman have? Is she stay-at-home mum? Does she have a career? Does she have kids? If she has a career, what career is it? Does she work full-time, part-time? Does she have a university degree? What are her views? What are her beliefs? What are her political views, religious views? How much does she earn? How much does her family have to spend? What's their disposable income? What are the things that motivates her? You can see we can really get into the weeds of this. We can get really, really detailed, and it's so useful to do this because that will help you understand what motivates your audience and so what they will respond to on social media. Because at the end of the day, if we create content for everyone, we end up creating content for nobody. I always think about movies with this statement. I love films. I love going to the cinema and watching films. The films that are probably my least favorites are ones that are just kind of bland. And that's the case with most people, is that we can go and we can enjoy, a superhero film because they're kind of designed for everyone. We can go along and we can enjoy them, but they're nobody's favorite. Very few people's favorite movie. Your favorite movie is probably something that doesn't appeal to everybody, that only appeals to a small number of people, but it just happens to appeal really strongly to you. So that's kind of how I think about it. Maybe not the best example in the world. The Marvel movies do appeal to lots of people and make billions and billions of dollars, but I still think that my point stands, and I think part of it is that they've got a lot of money behind them, which most small businesses don't. So you need to think about who you're creating content for. You are absolutely not going to have, your target audience is not going to be everyone. You've got to narrow it down and think, who is it specifically for? So here are, again, two examples. We've got Nico's Pizzeria. Nico's Pizzeria's target audience is Simon. Now, no, we've not gone for a broad group of people. We've not said that we've not said that our target audience is just young single professionals in their late 20s. We're narrowing it down. And the reason for that is it's really easy to write for one person. You'll find psychologically, you'll find it a lot easier if you're just thinking about writing for one person rather than writing for a group of people. So even though Simon is completely fictional, he's been completely made up, it's still going to help Nico's Pizzeria write social media posts because they can think about Simon and write for Simon rather than writing for a group of people. So Simon is a young single professional in his late 20s. I would actually say you probably should choose a year. You know, you don't really meet many people and, you know, how old are you? Oh, I'm late 20s. Well, how old is that? Let's say Simon's 27. Nice and simple. Simon works full-time in advertising. He lives in Brighton. He leads a very busy work and social life, has a big appetite for adventure. He's a keen athlete who enjoys playing football, but he also goes to his local bar with his mates to watch televised sporting events. Important thing here, what we haven't mentioned is pizza. You know, we're not just looking at what we can provide them as a business. We're looking at a rounded picture of who they are. This is what Nico's Pizzeria has worked out is their target audience. Hathaway Legal, we're looking at Sally, early 30s. Again, let's get a number, 33. Single, her first time buying a new apartment in Leeds city centre. Works for an insurance company, enjoys reading the newspaper and drinking a macchiato at her nearby coffee shop. Tech fanatic and enjoys getting the latest gadgets. Graduated with a good degree in history, a bit of a grammar nerd, appreciates quality. So very different audience. But again, it's going to help because, again, looking at the whole better to write for an individual than write for a group, all of Hathaway Legal's target audience, they're not all going to be tech fanatics. They're not all going to be grammar nerds. They're not all going to have graduated with a degree in history. It's just about making someone who is representative of your overall audience. And if we can put a personality to them, especially if you've noticed personality traits amongst your audience. You know, one thing that I noticed with my business, I noticed that a lot of my clients that I work for, I would often describe them as really busy, really often very sort of almost frazzled, a little bit overwhelmed. They've taken on a lot of work, and they have probably too much on their plate. So I could almost certainly use that in a persona profile. My target audience is really, really frazzled. Maybe, you know, if any of my clients are watching, they might not take that particularly nicely, but I think that would fit in with a lot of the people that I work with. Again, not everybody is going to be overwhelmed. Not everyone I work with is going to have a lot on their plate, but enough are that it means that is a relevant thing to put in a persona profile. So here are just some of the things that we could look for. Gender, name, age, where do they live? This is the basic demographic details. And we can move on to a little bit more detail with things like marital status, job status, children, and earnings. Once we have got that, we can start moving through the sort of more psychological side of things. So what do they do for fun? What are they interested in? What do they value? What do they really care about? What's their job title? Maybe this won't be as relevant to you, but are they a decision maker? Who is their decision maker? What industry do they work in? What are their talents, their ambitions, their politics? The most important thing that you could ever think about for your target audience is what is their pain points. Now, a pain point, it might sound sinister, but all a pain point is do they have any problems that your product or your service can solve? So going back one slide, probably shouldn't because we've got them about a time, but going back one slide, Simon's pain point. Well, it doesn't have to be a big serious pain point. Maybe Simon's pain point is that he quite often has finished being at the local bar after a game of football. He's tired, he's hungry, he's had a few pints, and he wants some food. That's a pain point. But we can maybe dig in a little deeper and say, what's he really looking for? Is he looking for convenience? Is he looking for fast delivery, for example? Or is he looking more for high quality? Does he want something that's not going to be really sort of greasy takeaway food? Again, thinking about these things, really, really helpful, really useful. So then we can move on to step 3, which is how you speak. What is the personality of your business? And this is the one that most people are find quite easy, which is just choose some descriptive words. So here's some examples. Nico's Pizzeria, charm, authenticity, family. there we go. 3 descriptive words that describe how Nico's Pizzeria is going to talk on social media. That's their sort of personality there. Hathaway Legal, we've got powerful, efficient, and experienced. Again, good personalities. You know, we can see again how they differ for the different businesses, the different target audiences. This is what your audience is hopefully going to respond really well to. And finally, we can look at the actual language we're going to use. What words will we and won't we use? It can be good to create a list of these and think about really common words that you would need to use. So for example, here we've got Nico's Pizzeria, we've got customer, eat. We're not going to use those. They're crossed out. We are going to use fresh. Fresh is definitely a word we're going to use. We're going to say ciao, we're going to say hello, but especially we're going to say welcome. We're not going to say hi. Again, think about what that says about their personality. We're not going to say customer, but we are going to say patron. We're going to say appetizing. We're not going to say restaurant. You know, different things that are all going to, this all sort of builds up a picture of who Nico's Pizzeria is. Same with Hathaway Legal. This is much more organized, and this is a good way of doing it. Think about really common things that you will need to say. Really common things you need to say are thank you, hello, goodbye. How are you going to say those things? Hathaway Legal, instead of saying thank you or goodbye, we're going to sign off our emails with kind regards, not best wishes, not cheers. We're not going to say thanks, we're going to say thank you. We're not going to say fab, we're going to say excellent or great. So absolutely, these are different ways that we can get a really good idea of who our personality is and firm that up in our customers' heads. So we've got our first question break coming up. I can see we've got a question from Francesca. If you were starting a new business, some of this info would be tricky to know as you wouldn't have an existing customer base. How would you create these personas? Great question, Francesca. You want to start out, you can start out either with who you want to attract, but you've probably got a good idea as well of who your target audience generally is because you've created a product or a service for them. So, you know, for example, your name here on YouTube is Francesca Holly Music and Tutorials. So I'm guessing your business is as a music teacher. So your target audience is people who want to learn how to play instruments. You've probably got, again, I'm making a lot of assumptions here about your business. You've probably got multiple personas because I can think immediately that you would have both young people, so children, and adults who both want to learn how to play instruments. And those are probably different audiences. You might have more than 2 personas. It sort of entirely depends on your business. So we can start off with the basics, which are, again, let's look at adult music learners. Well, we know that they're adults. Maybe there's not a specific gender difference, but we know that they're adults. We know that they're interested in music. Okay, well then, if you don't already have that user base, we can look at, okay, well, let's go to Google. Let's go to Google and look at statistics on adults who learn musical instruments. At what point in their life do they learn them? What do they tend to be interested in? You know, again, if I was guessing, I would guess you'd probably have a lot of dads who are interested in classic rock who've decided to learn the guitar once they hit their midlife crisis. That's fine. That's a customer base, potentially. But just going to Google and searching for information on the sort of the average person who does what you provide or who wants what you provide can go a long way. Ultimately, these personas aren't set in stone. So once you start your business, you'll be able to start gathering data through things like Facebook page insights, for example, or Instagram for business or Google Analytics. All of that stuff gets you some kind of analytic data that you can use to really narrow down your audience. But to start with, you can go vague and you can sort of narrow it down as you go on. Brilliant. So Azra said, is people older than 30 who own a business narrow enough for a business target group? If you mean as a persona, Azra, as a user pen portrait, I would say we can get more detailed than that. But certainly that's a good start. People older than 30 who own and manage a business. Okay, great. Well, again, let's look into more details about that. How large are their businesses? How many people do they hire? What's the gender balance? Is it fairly even? Is it more men than women, more women than men? What sector are they in? All sorts of things like that. Again, we're aiming to get those pain points. We're aiming to work out, right, what problems are they having that my product and my service can solve? And also, what would motivate them to make that purchase? So we want to get as detailed as we can. Amy, I get a lot of people following and then unfollowing me on Instagram. Do you have any advice on who to follow back? Should I be following other small business owners back to boost my following? Good question. Advice on who to follow back. I would say, yeah, follow other people in your industry if you can. That's usually a good idea. Or other accounts to do with your industry. So, for example, my side hustle is that I paint Warhammer, which is a form of a little plastic game thing that people play, and it's like a hobby. People build these little models and they paint them, and some people don't want to paint them, so I paint them for them. So with that, sort of my people who I follow are other people within that business who aren't my direct competitors, but who have something to do with it. So paint manufacturers, things like that, brush manufacturers, other people who paint as a hobby but who don't take commissions. So yeah, that think about people who are within your industry. But not direct competitors. They're usually good people to follow back. If you do have a lot of people following and then unfollowing you on Instagram, it might be because you're using the wrong hashtags as well. You might want to have a look at that. If people maybe think that you've got your page is about a specific topic, but then it's about a different one. So yeah. Hopefully that's helpful, Amy. I'm going to ask the last question for now because I do need to move on. Summer has said, I run a gender-affirming underwear business for transgender people. Ooh, I am a transgender person. I might see if I can find you later. I'm not sure how to narrow it down to create the right personas. Could you advise? Oh, well, I'm your target audience, so I can absolutely advise. Depending on whether you're creating underwear for both trans men and trans women and also non-binary people, you're probably going to want multiple personas, one for sort of trans men, one for trans women, and maybe one for non-binary people. It's difficult because obviously anybody can transition at any point, but statistically we're more likely to be younger. Trans people are more likely to be in sort of their 20s. Or early 20s at least, proportionally, because the younger generation is more likely to come out as transgender. To narrow it down, again, we want to think about what motivates these people. Why would you want gender-affirming underwear? Well, partially it's going to be about passing. It's going to be about feeling better inside. So, again, potentially we're thinking about, what motivates people to transition in the first place. Actually, as much as I've said this is easy because I am your target audience, it is difficult because we're dealing with a lot of sort of internal emotions. I will certainly say that you can get a lot of really great advice by going online and following other transgender activists. You'll find that there is a kind of online transgender community on places like Twitter that is really useful for working out how to market to these people. But yeah, certainly that would be the first step. You're in luck that there is actually quite a lot of information about sort of transgender demographics and things like that. So there is definitely information out there, and again, social media is a good place to information gather. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm going to move on now because again we are probably way behind. So let's look now at writing for social media, but keep those questions coming. We're going to have other chances to answer them later on. So here is a quote often attributed to Winston Churchill as well, but we think it's Blaise Pascal. I would have written a shorter letter, but I did not have the time. It is hard to write short social media posts and get all of the information you want to get across to your audience. Even for your own personal account, this can be hard. So this is one thing to think about, is that bear in mind, creating a short, concise, bite-sized post is going to be difficult going on. Average human attention span is 8.25 seconds. Unless our interest is piqued, then we are not going to stick with something past those first 8 seconds. Some studies show that on social media, that attention span is actually 3 seconds or less, especially when you're scrolling through, Facebook or swiping through TikTok or something like that. We only have 3 seconds to grab people's attention. That, I think, that matches my experience. Certainly, as I'm browsing through social media, I'll know straight away whether I want to continue to read a post or watch a video, or if I want to move on to the next one. I wouldn't wait 8.25 seconds. So what that means is we are writing for goldfish. We are writing for people who are not going to pay attention for very long at all. So we have to assume this: our reader is only going to read the first half of our sentence. Now, that's not necessarily true. Hopefully our readers are going to read more than the first half of our sentence. They're going to read the whole thing. They're going to read all of what we put. But we have to assume that they're only going to read the first half. So all of the important information about it has to be in the first half of that sentence. We'll show you what that means in a second. The same applies for videos as well. You only have about 3 seconds. So the first 3 seconds should be engaging, should hook your viewer in, and should give them a good idea of what the video in general is about. You will see this on TikTok almost always. If anyone uses TikTok a lot, if you see food creators' recipes on TikTok, they'll almost always start with the final shot of the video. They'll start with the food being served up, or the last thing being done, the garnish being sprinkled on top. They won't, so they're starting at the very end, but that's because that means within that first 3 seconds, the user will be able to see immediately, this is what this video is going to lead to. If I watch this video, I'm going to learn how to cook this thing, and this thing looks delicious. So it's giving you all the information you need to know about what it's about, and it's going to hook you in to continue to watch it. So that's a good example that you can look at in your own life to see how they do it. Again, focus on the user. What are they going to be interested in? In those first 3 seconds, what is it that's going to hook them in? What motivates them? And again, what are their pain points? Are they looking for something to stop them from being bored? Are they looking for something funny, entertaining, educational? Do they want to win something? Are they hoping for something that that they can, like, physically gain from social media? What actually is it that brings them to social media in the first place? It could be anything from, again, just basically entertaining, passing the time, to forming a real connection. So focus on the user to work that out. Make sure you are listing benefits rather than features, and I'll show you what that means. So what we've got here is a new gadget watch. The features of this gadget watch are: it is waterproof up to 5 meters deep. It has 5mm thick glass. It comes in black, white, blue, or gold, and it has a spherical interface. What does that mean for me? What does that mean for me as a user? Waterproof up to 5 meters. Well, I can't, 5 meters, that doesn't seem a lot because 5 is a small number, but 5 meters is quite big. How deep is a swimming pool? Is that 5 meters deep? I don't know off the top of my head how deep swimming pools are. So what does that mean for me? Well, that's why we have to focus on the benefits. So instead of saying it's waterproof up to 5 meters, start with, you can take it swimming. That tells the user everything they need to know about what being waterproof actually means for them. Again, 5mm thick glass. Well, 5mm isn't very thick, is it? That's not even a centimeter. That's tiny. But knowing that it's smash resistant is useful, is a feature that I can understand. Again, comes in black, white, blue, or gold. Well, that's easier to understand, certainly. And most people will be able to look at that and go, yep, comes in black, white, blue, or gold. Yeah, I can understand what that means for me. But again, we can still spell it out for people. Choose a color to suit your personality. So using that kind of thing, really, again, focus on the features and not the benefits. Sorry, the benefits, not the features, because the features don't tell the whole story. Absolutely focusing on those benefits will really help. Here are some examples of really good pieces of writing for social media. So number 1, boost your CV with a free digital marketing course. Number 2, get product and engineering on the same page with product roadmap software. And number 3, get a free coffee roasting kit when you try 3 bags of our roasting coffee. Now, not only have we focused on the benefits for all 3 of those things, the benefits of this free digital marketing course is it will help boost your CV. The benefit of this product roadmap software is that it will get product and engineering on the same page. The benefit of our roasting coffee is that we will give you a free gift if you buy enough of it. Not only have we focused on those benefits, we have put them in the first half of the sentence, because we're writing for the goldfish. So straight away, first words you see on this page, boost your CV. If your target audience is looking for CV help, for something to help them get to the next level of their career, the phrase boost your CV with something free, that's going to grab their attention. That's why this is a good way of structuring a social media post. We start with the benefit. We put it in the first part of the sentence. We make sure the first thing people can see are the benefit. Why should they read on? Well, they're going to get to boost their CV, or they're going to get a free coffee roasting kit. So really do take this in mind. This is a really good way of structuring your posts to get the most impact on social media. When it comes to the language we use, we want to be clear and simple. Now, doesn't mean we have to be stupid. People often say this and they get ideas in their head about, oh, this is because social media has dumbed us down and we're too stupid and blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Social media is, well, there might be evidence that it's dumbing us down, but actually it's more that we want to be able to see straight away what a product or service can do for us. Any complicated language is going to end up making things really, really awkward, really difficult to understand straight away. Maybe easy to understand overall, but again, we're looking for that first 3 seconds. So we want to make things reader friendly, clear, structured. We want our sentences to be uncomplicated, and we want to use everyday words. And again, this comes back to that first quote. I would have written a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time. It's harder to create a good, clear, easy to understand sentence than it is to create a long rambling one. Complicated language, we're looking at things like technical terms and jargon and words that you would use as part of your business. Acronyms as well. Acronyms are something to avoid because people won't necessarily know what that means. And also flowery language and unnecessary words. Try and keep your posts short if possible. That's why, even on Twitter, so Twitter now allows for up to 280 characters per tweet. I would say still stick to 140 if you can. 140 characters are honestly better than 280 because it forces you to stick to the most important parts of it, and actually make, even things like, I've posted jokes on Twitter before, and I found that actually my jokes are funnier if I try and restrict them, because it forces me to focus on the funniest part of the joke and not add too much detail to it that's going to reduce the impact of the punchline. If you read about joke structuring, I know it's a real nerdy thing to do, to be like, how should I be funny? I should read about how to structure a joke. That'll make me a comedian. But if you read about joke structure, it is actually interesting that most comedians will say, keep them short and simple and give the punchline room to breathe. And the same principles apply here in social media. It's much, much more effective if you can make things clear, simple, easy to understand, and give the most important element of your post room to breathe. Don't surround it with lots of other words to clutter it up. So how do you do this? How do you cut your copy while keeping the same meaning? That is a question that you need to really ask yourself. And there's no easy answer to that because it is going to depend on what your copy actually is. In general, again, just try and get rid of unnecessary words, and you'll find that you're going to be left with the most important, most effective words to use. But always keep this question in mind. How can you get your copy down in terms of word length without removing any of the meaning? Really, it's worth, as an exercise, going back to some of your old social media posts, your old tweets, and seeing if you can reduce their length in that way. So one thing that we do need to go through is handling complaints. On social media, you will get complaints, you'll get negative comments, and there are obviously good and bad ways to go about doing this. So things to bear in mind with complaints: always try and understand their points of view. Never try and get in a fight on social media. We want to be polite and professional. We want to turn what could be a negative into an enormous positive for you as a business. So a few tips for doing this. Number one, avoid passive language. We're sorry that that happened to you. Or we're sorry that a fly managed to get into your soup. We're sorry that your experience with us wasn't great. That's very passive. Take some responsibility. You don't have to take full responsibility, especially if there's legal issues. It can be difficult. For example, if somebody has come to your restaurant and said, my husband got food poisoning at your restaurant, then you legally don't want to immediately go, yep, sorry, that was my bad. That's going to get you in trouble. But try to make your writing clear and concise and to the point, and at least accept a bit of responsibility. We're sorry that we did that. Again, this is not legal advice. If you're worried about anything, then avoid taking responsibility, but it is going to make your apologies easier. Focus on fixing the problem. Apologies, they're nice and they are good, but ultimately they don't do a lot. So focus on fixing the problem. Try and make things right. If somebody had a bad experience with your business, try and work out how can you make that experience positive? How can you make it good? Don't joke. Rarely should you ever joke. Occasionally, if somebody says a joke to you in their complaint, then you can maybe respond with a joke and kind of be a bit cheeky. But generally, whenever someone's money is involved, they're going to want you to take it seriously. They're not going to want to think that you're just mocking them. So definitely take it seriously and try not to use jokes. Sign off with a name as well. Let people know who you are, and encourage them to contact you in a private forum, like an email. Get the complaint off social media. All this is going to do is it's going to show people that you do take complaints seriously, that you will sort of focus on fixing the problem, and it's going to make other people feel like if they have a problem with your business, that they can complain and it be taken seriously. People want to be taken seriously with these kind of things. So don't be dismissive. Don't fire back. Don't get into a fight, because even if someone is completely unreasonable, if you get in a fight with them, all it's going to show your other customers is that if they have a problem, you're going to potentially respond aggressively, and they're not going to want to shop somewhere or spend their money somewhere where they don't have nowhere to go if they have an issue. So here is one complaint. Look, I ordered a mobile from your company last week, but when it arrived, it was badly damaged. When I called to complain, I was rudely told you don't accept returns and that I need to contact the delivery company for compensation. Is this really how you treat loyal customers? I will never buy from you again. Hopeless. Really, really bad comment there, right? Okay, you've messed up as a business. Here is what you could do. So, hello customer, our sincere apologies for the inconvenience caused and the poor customer service you received. It fell below our usually high standards. So that, again, taking a bit of responsibility there. We value your patronage and we will launch a full investigation into why our team provided you with misinformation and didn't treat you with the full respect that you deserve. I would say with this bit, we're using a bit too complicated languages. When we say why our team provided you with misinformation, what are we actually saying there? Do you accept returns? Were you told something incorrectly? And then finally, please contact me in my direct email and we can organize a full compensation or replacement for you. Signed, Hannah. So we've used the name and we've given a direct option that people can use to fix this problem, and they are going to fix this problem and absorb the cost. So this is a much better way of answering complaints rather than getting in a fight. We have got a question break now. I am a little bit short for time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going. I'm going to answer questions at the end so I know how much time I've got left. I have seen that there are questions. I'm not ignoring you, but we'll keep going for now. So going then into our toolkit for content marketing. What is that going to look like? Well, some tools that you can use. First of all, I'm sure I've seen someone mention this in the chat already. Grammarly is an excellent tool. Grammar, that's Grammarly. It's an amazing tool that spell checks and checks your grammar as you post, and that's going to be really important because we do want to make sure that our spelling and grammar is correct. There are plenty of other tools and tricks though that you can use, but this one is probably the most important. We do want to make sure that our spelling and grammar is correct on social media. Then there's the visual aspects of it. So how do we create really good eye-catching visuals? Well, first of all, we need our photographs to look good. You can edit your photographs with a few useful apps. So Visco Cam is a really good one, VSCO Cam. It's got a lot of quick sort of preview apps. So if you can hear him sort of knocking, my dog is sat on the windowsill and he's wagging his tail and it's banging on the window. So I'm hoping that's not too disruptive for anyone. You can also use an app called Canva. That's Canva, which is free to use. It's freemium, so there is a paid version. But it is free to use Canva, and it is a free graphic design app with loads of social media templates. So if you're looking to create some kind of graphic for social media, Canva is an amazing choice to use. Graphic design apps are always going to be really useful for this kind of thing, because you know, a lot of the time we are visual people, so we respond better to visuals, to images, than we do to just pure text. So Canva is an excellent option. Word Swag is another option. It turns your words into sort of graphic design, so that could be an option, and it's got lots of templates as well. With photographs, try and make sure you're using, most of us will use our phone for photographs, which is a good option because your phone has usually got an excellent camera. Try and make sure the lighting is good. Try and make sure you've got a good angle. Invest in a light box if possible, which is, you can make your own light box out of a sort of a cardboard box and some you know, black card or something like that. But a light box will just ensure that you've got a good background with some good lighting for small images and products especially. A simple tool that you can use, something that we've all got access to, is a smartphone and a selfie stick. That's ultimately, that can be some of the most interesting and so important tools that you can use, is a smartphone and a selfie stick together. It doesn't take a lot. It allows you to take photos and videos yourself as if you had a cameraman, especially if you are kind of the product, if you're the face of your business. A selfie stick can be really useful, but just the smartphone on its own, you are going to get a really good camera out of that, and basic image editing tools on your smartphone as well. So your phone can be exactly what you need as well. So let's go back to those questions. We've got a little bit of time to answer them. Maria has asked, how do brands like Google, who are actually working for everyone, create content? I feel your brand is trying to appeal to youth, and adults need to be very diverse in your messaging. So interesting, Google doesn't appeal to everyone. Google doesn't create content that appeals to everyone. The content that we've created today is geared towards small business owners. And as such, we've made sure that we're including, you know, the tips and tricks that we've included are hopefully trying to solve common problems that small business owners have. That's been based on who the demographics are for small business owners, what their pain points are, what motivates them. Hopefully, if you've been, you know, going through this presentation, going through this webinar, and thinking, well, you know what, that just answered a question that I've always thought I had. That's perfect. That shows that we're doing our job correctly. Even a big brand like you, I mean, a better option might be Nike. So someone who sells sort of general sort of sports gear. That's a really broad audience. You've got kids who want, you know, fashion trainers. You've got kids who need PE kit. You've got older people who want, you know, cool trainers to go clubbing in. You've got adults who, again, want something practical that's going to last them a long time, but is also high quality. All of these people are using different kit and going to sports for different reasons. And the sports that they use, that they play, are very different as well. with that case, if you have got a very broad audience, you can split it into different personas. And that's probably the best advice I can give you. Don't stick with one persona and one sort of individual persona that tries to cover everyone. Have 2, 3, 4, big brands might have 10 to 20 different personas. And then try and think, right, ideally, in the best scenario, you'll have different social networks for those personas as well. So for example, adults are more likely to be on Facebook, whereas kids are more likely to be on Instagram. So then you've got 2 different platforms for 2 very different types of messaging. And that allows you to be diverse in a way that's not going to alienate anybody. Your Instagram is for marketing towards younger people, and we can do that. And our Facebook can be all about marketing towards older people, and we can use the sort of the words, the tone of voice that will appeal to them. Hopefully that has answered your question. So we'll move on to Amy. As a handbag designer with my own named brand, I found lots of other small designers and makers tend to write long posts and put a lot of personality in. What are your thoughts on this? Depends on your brand, depends on your audience, to be honest. Long posts can work if people are very invested in you as a business owner. And that does work for a lot of businesses. They make themselves the brand, and they talk a lot about their experience and things like that. A lot of influencers are like that as well. It absolutely can be an option. Instagram lets you leave massive captions. Facebook lets you leave long posts. Twitter, even, you can write Twitter threads of sort of 10, 20, 30 tweets. And you can, of course, link to blogs and things like that. What I would say is that if you are going to do that, you need to make sure that it's attention grabbing from the start. You want to immediately start with, again, what are people going to get out of reading this post? Why should they read it? If you feel like that's something that your audience will respond well to, then it absolutely is a good option. Just because people do have short attention spans doesn't mean that we can't, engage them with long form content. I often, when we do these videos about YouTube, webinars about marketing on YouTube, I'll often tell people that the longest YouTube video that I have sat through in one sitting was 3.5 hours long. The longest YouTube video that I've watched over multiple sittings is 7 hours long. As much as we all have short attention spans, if we find something that engages us, we are willing to put in the effort. We are willing to absolutely engage with long form content. So it can be a very, very good option. Firas has asked, hey, Zoe, Emma, I have a question about setting tone of voice across different social platforms. Can they be different, or will it impact brand personality? That is a nice quick one for me to answer. Yes, they can be different. Lots of brands have completely different tones of voice for Twitter and for Instagram and for Facebook, because they know that different target audiences are going to be on each of those different apps. So yeah, that absolutely can be a really, really good way of marketing towards a diverse audience, is have a different social network for each sort of pen profile, each persona. Amazing. That looks like we've reached all of the questions. I've seen that there's loads of stuff going through in the chat. I'm sorry if I've missed any. I'm sure Emma has done a fantastic job of answering all of them. You've been a wonderful group today. You've been really engaged and really chatty, and that's exactly the kind of group we like to have. So thank you for that. So we are reaching the end of the webinar. So what are your next steps going to be? Obviously, we do have other webinars. We have plenty of them all available on the link in our webs in the video description here today, on loads of different topics. We also have free one-to-one mentoring available from Google. Again, anyone who works for a small business or for a charity in the UK can sign up for Google mentoring at g.co/UK mentoring. It's completely free. You get a full hour with a digital garage trainer like myself. And last thing, if you've enjoyed the session today, or frankly, if you haven't enjoyed the session today, if you've thought that this was all complete rubbish, we still want to hear from you. Let us know. Tell us in our feedback form, which is goo.girl/digital garage feedback. We use that feedback to help make these sessions as good as possible. So if we've done something right, if you thought that, me or Emma has done a great job, or that the content's been fantastic, let us know why, let us know what we've done right, and also let us know if we've done something wrong so we can fix it and we can make it better in the future. That about brings me up to exactly an hour. So I've just got the only thing left to say is thank you. Big thank you to Emma. As I've said, you've been really chatty, and I'm sure it's been a really busy chat. And she's done just such an amazing job of looking after you all. So I'm sure she'd appreciate if you let her know how much you appreciate her. And thank you to all of you, all of your questions, all of your comments. You've been absolutely fantastic. It's been a pleasure to be here delivering this webinar for you all. So big thank you to everyone, and hopefully I will see you again on another Digital Garage session. So take care everyone, and goodbye.